Hola, hola. We are live. Hola, hola. This is Tico, Tren, and Baron Yam. We're going to be dissecting. We're going to be doing dissecting various topics, basically that come up, and let it be the comment section and or in the live stream for the most part. So if you have
So
any feedback,
get your gloves on.
get your gloves on, get your scalpels, and let's get ready to dissect various things in this lovely live stream.
Right. Yes.
This is Baron and Sadist. Let's get it
What's
cracking.
up? It's Baron Yam. So basically, the thing that I wanted to talk about to start off was um just just the fear porn that's out there right now, and how the fear gets a lot of people to just change up their whole entire attitudes towards things, and they witness you witness hypocrisy whenever you see somebody who is exhibiting that fight or flight instinct, because they've like completely changed who they are just to fit this whole pandemic, this whole crisis. Like, so it's usually a person who's been resting on their laurels, or somebody who's just been really relaxed, that all of a sudden the pandemic hit and now they're scrambling and they're super flustered, and they care very much about helping other people
McTown, the
when
wind
they
joined
were
us.
when they weren't really like that in the first place. What's up, MGTOWN the wind?
None
There's a
much, none much. I'm just getting set.
You
I get a 3 hour nap.
nice. You on the
Well, take your butt
34?
to sleep then.
I'm drinking 805 right now. Um, but
Take your butt to
because
bed, McTown the
I
wind.
ran out of twisted teas.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm about 2 hours away from my fucking drop. And it was like, and I don't got to be in there until 6. You know,
Well, take your butt to sleep.
I just got in my truck. I'm just trying to get
Yeah,
it
go to
settled in.
sleep.
Oh,
I'll
it's
stay.
good. Nice of you to stop by, but we'd rather you
I'll stop.
get that.
I'll stay
I'm
here
serious. We
for
don't
a
need
few
your ass
minutes.
crashing in 2 hours, basically, to your
And
Yeah,
look,
drive.
and people
I'm
need
only
their
gonna be on
toilet
here for 30
paper.
minutes. Hey, look, I'm only gonna be on here for 30 minutes. You know, there's two things you don't call me as a trucker: late for supper, or tired. I will get caught up on sleep.
Oh, that
That's for
guy's
sure.
back. He got a new handle now.
What?
Well, that guy in the comment section. He's in the comment
Oh,
section. What up, that guy?
Los the Great. Okay, Los the Great. Peligroso. What up, Tika?
Yeah.
Or what up, Dan? What up, that guy?
So
This
what we
Oh
guy.
my
on here?
God, I see you embrace. He's embraced his musical side. Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, he
It's
has
been a while.
apparently.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a while since that guy's been in here. I'm just paying him some attention, man. I hope
Yeah.
you're doing good.
Hope you're doing good. Definitely.
I hope you've managed, and I hope you found like some sort of. I was in Guitar Center um today, or I had my friend stop by Guitar Center, and they're basically like the mafia outside of there, like only allowing 10
Legit.
people in, and then the
Right.
two people who are doing the music lessons, they like keep those people in there, and then so it's basically like waiting on 8 people, and it takes hours and hours if you're like the fifth person in line, apparently. So
Hmm.
this is the world that we're living in, and it gives people a false sense of power, and it gives people who are not in the power position that false sense of security, just because there's somebody with a mask instructing them, telling them what to do. And it kind of
Right.
reminds me of TSA. Like the
Yeah,
whole thing is just theater.
So
definitely.
Uh-huh.
yeah, we're out. Like I said, welcome to the new world where
Yeah.
people
Hmm.
are cheap. And you know the sad part about it is people fell for this shit. Hold on a second.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They fell for it. They let their fear get. They let their fear of oxygen
Uh-huh.
give up everything. Give up their rights. They let their fear of oxygen let them surrender their rights. We didn't even go out with a bang. We went out with a whimper. You know,
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah.
and
And I
it's
mean, like, I agree with you 100%. And it's more like the reason why I'm upset is I see people I see people say things that they don't really believe just because they think that somebody else is listening. When we're
Yeah,
like, the
true.
world that we live in is full of individuals. It's full of potential, and just because just because a crisis is hitting doesn't mean that it's a bad time to act in any way or a bad
Look
time
at
to
100. Yeah, look at a
take
hundred years
risks.
ago. Look at 100 years ago. They had they had a pandemic. People were dropping like flies to a can of raid in the streets. But you know what? That sparked an that sparked economic boom,
Hmm.
an industrial revolution, both in medical science and industry science.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, until about 20, 30 years ago, people's lungs were just like you couldn't really say that
Right.
they had a
People
good
were
chance of surviving.
people were
Yeah.
drowning in their own lungs on dry land.
Uh-huh.
You can't tell them. You can't tell, and they weren't a bunch of punks. They weren't afraid to take risk. You know.
Very true. But in this day and age, you also got to take into consideration in this day and age, a lot of the people's immune system isn't up to par like it used to be back in the day. We got a lot of people that think they're allergic to shit when in only fact only like 1% of those people are actually allergic to whatever they claim they're allergic to.
It's called the
Uh-huh.
hypochondriacs overreacting to the max. They'll go to the ER just for boo boo on his legs.
Yeah, and it's like it's
Hypochondriacs.
the real thing that I find just completely crazy is that the moment somebody who isn't even qualified for the position in the United States, but say like a guy like Donald Trump, whenever he speaks, it's like almost a breath of fresh air because there's no censorship, and people are so envious of that that they would use the excuse that he's not professional enough, he doesn't have the experience to speak diplomatically as
I
a
don't think
way to silence.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt. Still
Yeah,
got on the list of presidents.
they both weren't that good at speaking. Matter of fact,
Right,
we had an illiterate president at one point.
right.
Really? Who
Oh
was
yeah,
it?
we had a. Do you really ask that question?
Mm.
Oh, George Washington? No, wait,
George Bush the second.
George. Oh, you fooled me once.
Yeah,
Shame on you. You fooled me twice.
he was a C. He was a C. I
You
think he
fooled
was like
me. You
a.
can't get fooled again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like
I mean,
basically
it's like
he was a C average student supposedly, but apparently he
you're
was a
telling
D
me
average student.
you're telling me a C average student can get president. See,
Yep, he
so you're
did.
telling me, hold on. So you're telling me a person who, wow, who literally was as boisterous and literally would put was the things that he said on his speeches would put Donald Trump to shame.
Well, the sad part about that though
Make him
is
look like a kid.
just you can speak a good game, but that don't mean you can actually read too well.
Well, and this is the
Right,
problem
but
with
what I'm saying
college
is
is
like
that it makes
we
it makes people feel like they are intelligent when it's college was just it's kind of a staging ground
Oh, it
college
definitely is.
college
for people to
was.
find people who are dumb enough that they can use in their plan. It's
Let
not
me break
the
this
every
to
day
you.
where you see an intelligent person enter
Right.
into college, but in those situations and in this context we're speaking, it's not necessarily the special interest groups.
Let
uh,
me
it's not in their best interest to have an intelligent person entering into college
let me break this
because they
to
need to
you.
find people. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that'd be too
College
much like right.
college was originally a base ground to learn about your practice to get you some experience so that when you're studying you know where you're going. Like look like this college medical college science, it was a science. There used to be science involved in college. There used to be an actual science involved in college. Like it made you actually, it gave you the base grounds of whatever field you were going into
Mhm.
so that
And
you
people
know.
had a respect for a field. Like nowadays, you
Right, like
have
a medical
black
field, like
studies, English studies, science studies. Like you have a lot of different derivations, and then the people who get the degree think that they're fully ensconced in all the knowledge that is of that field, instead of being like, I'm going to learn about this completely useless thing that's actually going to ironically help me. It's like
And it
this
was going to
they
disappear in
treat the
5 years.
information
Or it's going to
exactly.
disappear in five
And the
years.
sad part about that, a lot
Yeah,
of the people who actually got these degrees that got worthless degrees for the most part. They paid all this money, got all this debt, and they got worthless degrees. Now you're working as a barista, or now you're
well,
working
they
as a
should be.
bartender,
And
or
that's
now
the
you're
thing.
working
That
as a
the college, the thing is like, yeah, it should have never have been for the diploma in the first place. But then I think I agree. I agree 100% with what you're saying. But the whole thing is like, we never predicted a landscape change of this magnitude. And now what I'm saying is not trying to excuse the people that went for the degrees, but what I'm actually saying is like, it's better it's better now that the degrees flat out don't mean anything, because it's almost like a turn of a new page, like a refresh or
A wake,
a
a
reset.
wake up call to the world. A wake
yeah.
up
Exactly.
call.
And people can
And
actually
it's
see what.
Woke up.
Mhm,
I always laughed at
mhm.
women and stuff like that when they say I got a degree. Like, what do you got a degree in? I got a degree in
Black
what's it called?
studies,
Black studies, or I got a bachelor's in
environmental science.
environmental science, or
So
I got
hold on,
one
wait, wait,
in
wait, 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 wait. So you got a degree in how to manipulate black people and degree in how to plant a fucking tree.
basically, yeah. And then they basically say they got a degree and they got a degree in what's the other famous one? Something studies.
Well, you have communication studies. Communication
Not
studies.
communication stuff. Not that one. There's
Oh,
another one.
oh, you
Uh,
have
There's
uh,
liberal
uh,
arts. Um,
liberal
and
arts.
then there's
Yeah,
what
another
the
liberal
one.
arts.
fuck
Yeah.
is liberal?
So
Where is liberal
social
art? What
was
is
it
liberal
Creative writing.
art?
Oh,
creative writing,
media,
social science,
You tell me what
media
liberal art
journalism,
is. You need to
multimedia
journalism.
journalism.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's that too.
yeah.
hold on. So you got a degree that nobody knows what it
Religious
is,
studies, religion studies.
Yeah, there's
and then you
also
got a
another one.
degree.
Religious study, literature, English
Wait,
literature.
when what? When yeah, English, African or African American literature.
That's what it's
Hold
called.
on,
Gender studies. Gender studies.
wait. Hold on.
I
Gender
did
studies.
I did a
Let me
dissertation
say
on
something.
rap lyrics, so I'm an African American studies expert. Go ahead, Wind.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
gender studies. They got like a
so,
degree in gender studies,
Oh,
basically.
that's right, gender study. Wait, how could we forget?
let me
I did
break this
right.
to you. Let me get a break to you. So you got a degree to where nobody knows how to practically how to even have an inkling of how to practically apply it, which would be the liberal arts degree. Then you have a degree to tell you how to be creative,
Basically,
And the
and then you
sad
have
thing is
and
that
then you
they're
have a degree that
the curriculum for teaching it is basically the regurgitating information, and the only thing that you can say that has any merit to the pedagogy is how they teach people, say for example, a writing format or a writing system or a way to cite and notate your information. But the information that they offer you that is not at the library, but like the stuff that they actually give you as the source material, is usually just such biased garbage. It's just like cherry picked from the
right.
wealth of information for that field, and it's made to gear you into a certain mindset where you're like, okay, as long as I just regurgitate the information, the teacher's going to be happy, I'm going to get a good grade, the grade's going to
And
reflect on
you're
my
just basically
transcript,
you're
I'm
just
going to get a
handing
good
encouragement,
I'm going to
right?
get a good job. And so what is it worth for me to learn anything anyways? It's almost like when a woman wants to be wants to use attention to basically get whatever she wants, and then
I
she doesn't
thought
really have to actually learn. Like, it's the reason why you won't find feminism in hot chicks like in common. You usually find feminist women is like, she's less than
pre-diabetes,
average,
pre-diabetes.
pre-diabetes, yeah, or she's built like a tank, you
hmm
know. And that's usually the women that are feminists. Whereas like women who are very hot, they don't even care. Like, they honestly, like, they're like, what feminism is that, like a new brand of lip gloss, or like they don't really know, they don't really care
They
about
don't
what it
care.
is. But yeah, or they'll say that they care because they really can't be fucked to change who they are in order to not fit the feminist mindset. So it's like, if they need money and no one's going to give it to them, they'll get a job and they'll claim feminism. Whereas
Yeah.
like, they can't change their mindset to where they need to be more
It's
pleasant to
called the
maybe
hive
find a man.
mindset. Hey, hey, I'll catch this live stream when on a drive because I'm gonna get me a quick nap.
Oh, you said 30
And
minutes. It's been 15 minutes.
hey, look, that's all I'm gonna tell. All risk I'm gonna take.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Because I could just
Go to
get
sleep.
there. All right, don't do nothing that I do.
In the
And
sleeper bird, doing 34.
hola, hola,
Hola, hola.
hola, hola. That's all I'm gonna
Tell
say.
Cartel Princess I said hi.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all I'm gonna say. Hola, hola.
All
All
right.
right.
That was a good. That was a good. Thank you, Wind, for that contribution. Thank you, Wind.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we were talking about college, right?
Yeah, college.
And that's funny because like the whole thing that you're thinking when you're junior senior year of high school is that I have no idea what I'm going to do. This is crazy. I was in eighth grade 4 years ago, and now I have to be an adult in the real world. And it makes weird sense when you think about the kind of savage parents that are out there that will actually say to an 18-year-old kid, "You got to learn how to be," without any guidance. Granted, I'm not talking about Tico's parents or anything like that, but I mean, or any. I'm not talking about people with actual structure. I'm talking about like in just your average American setting, nowadays where people don't really have the right. Maybe their parents had a gender studies degree. That's kind of more my category. I see it being a weird thing to tell a kid who really doesn't have that much of a foundation that they're going to have to live on their own or that they violated some rule and now they have to go out when you can't even really get an apartment nowadays in uh like because of the whole lockdown situation.
Hmm.
It's just a strange environment that a young person's in when they're in that transition age just before they get to a point where they can start making their own ideas. They're kind of inoculated with this fear porn of if you don't make something out of your life by going and studying all of these meaningless courses and stuff that are nondescript and not geared to like actually help you
Yeah.
when you're 35 or like down, it's more just to make you look more appealing when you're in that young 20s, 21 through 2 3 4, so that potentially a company with a vested interest in like using your face for their ideology can feel good showing you to the rest of the world as their when I would say it's window dressing.
Yeah.
It's almost like
I agree on that one.
if you call it diversity training, I mean there's really nothing diverse about the people that they show on the front end. They pretty much are all good looking. They pretty much all have, without getting too detailed into it, they all have something that the institution or the organization or something finds valuable. They're never going to put somebody who thinks individual or thinks different from the organization. They're never going to represent that person, because and that's just the way that it is. I mean, people don't treat those that disagree with very much respect in that regard, and
Yeah, no, they don't.
they don't think that props them up. When in reality, it's like if you would just prop up a bunch of people that agree with you, I mean, that's fine. But look ahead in life and see how that's gonna come back to bite you in the end. Because
Yeah. Because when you get in the workforce,
what if they don't turn out right? Like then you
hmm
got them on the face instead of somebody who you think is like a little bit too disagreeable, but is probably feels convicted about something and that he's going to build from that as opposed to just writing this hollowed out ideology until they're too old to where no one really gives a fuck about what they think anymore. And like
hmm or they're
that's
writing
kind of
op-eds, or they're writing op-eds talk about I was
you
wrong
know
about feminism.
oh, the coronavirus is anti-feminist or something like
Yeah,
some crazy shit
making
like
some
that,
excuse,
man.
making some excuse not to take responsibility for their actions and shit. I've always found that funny.
It's ridiculous, but it's like it's also kind of a thing that you have to take into account when you're putting your kid through school. It's like, all right, I'm not going to blow this out of proportion, even though it is ridiculously expensive.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculously expensive. Sometimes half the
Mhm.
time I wonder about half these people. It's just
Yeah, I agree with see because like I agree with that guy. He's like it's part of growing up, and then there's yeah, it's part of growing up, and then there's like there's people who don't want to grow up and they don't want to take responsibility, and every single moment they can actually see themselves being the victim of a crime, like
mhm.
instead of like having a little bit of self-worth and then realizing like when they actually are sovereign. And that's the power that people don't really understand. It's not material power, it's just like willpower and just like sovereign power. People don't really acknowledge that. They only acknowledge the fee the fiat power of I spent this amount of money to go to this place, which is cool. Like that's what I'm saying. It's part of adapting. Like you can't just not put your skin in school because you think that college is too expensive. You have to make a good decision about which school your kid's going to go to. Then you got to be there every step of the way with them while they're going to the school. Make sure they're learning the right stuff and not learning like the wrong stuff. Then somehow they got to translate that into good grades. Like it's not complicated. It's really simple, but people just again they don't like to have that feeling that they're going to have to defend themselves, or they're going to have to be they have to and they have to be fearful of what's in the future. And the only reason why that is the case, in my opinion, is that they push things off into the future, the good stuff, and they because the future is filled with so many good stuff. They're just like, I don't have to act any different in the present day. I don't have to change any of my habits because everything is good. Everything's going to be good for me once I get this or once I get that. Just kind of like
Yeah, very true.
more of like a consumer culture.
Yeah, it definitely is, and
Mhm.
that's what makes it so freaking sad when it get to when these kids come out of nowhere talking about gender studies, and I got a bachelor's in gender studies, or I got a
Yeah,
master's in this. Like,
but
dude, why didn't you
then they
get a
want to buy
why?
an expensive car, or like they want to live a non-aesthetic lifestyle, when it's like
Yeah,
the thing that you're studying is like, if you could put it into words, it's like the philosophy of living and understanding the associations between the two genders of human nature. And
yeah.
then because but you want to study that, but yet you want to go to Coachella, or you want to go to this thing and that thing and spend exorbitant amounts of money trying
But
to
then
get things that you desire in the real world. And it's just
Yeah, but
like,
the sad part about that, you're in this much debt, and then on top of that, you ain't got a job to back it up. The degree that you got ain't worth shit, but obviously you're in debt. So, and you want to actually throw that in other people's faces that you got this degree that really doesn't mean a damn thing.
yeah, no, it doesn't mean anything, and it shouldn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like when you go to learn something, it should be for your personal development. And then whenever you have do something in life, maybe when you put that knowledge and put that experience into something, it'll benefit somebody else. Not even it doesn't even have to be a lot of people. It doesn't even have to be a group of people. It could
True.
just benefit one person. Because like, this whole racism thing is just ridiculous. Like if I learn how to do a trade in something, I'm gonna help anybody who needs help doing that trade because that's what I'm there to do. It gives me purpose. I'm not gonna discriminate against somebody because of that. And I think that this whole idea of your study realm of study complicates things so much to where you don't get that sort of that simplified perspective of life, where it's like if you're good at something, then do it and don't talk about it if it doesn't match with what you vibe with. And then that's completely thrown out the window, because every person who is in a place of privilege and a place of luxury, they don't waste any time They all they do is waste time talking about people that don't like them or don't care about them or don't give a fuck about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all you ever hear rich entitled people doing is being like, I got all these haters and I got all these problems and I got all these clout, these people trying to chase clout when I got the most clout and I do the most clout chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, yeah, that's the biggest fucking thing in American society to the rest of the world. Because like all of our celebrities do that same
Yeah, they
thing,
definitely do.
and they all clout chase. Man, Blind Assassin MGTOW, if he was watching this, he would be able to go on a rant about clout chasing. He is a more based person than I am in certain aspects when I talk about the stuff that we do online specifically, because I don't really
Mm-hmm.
I still find myself doing that. Like that's so natural. That's a natural thing for me. But like for Blind Assassin MGTOW, he's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm fed up. And I'm like, wow. I was like so young. He's already fed up.
Mm-hmm. You talk about, yeah, he like 12 already, and already
he's,
fed up and shit.
he's like, I'm 9 years old and this shit is
Right.
bullshit. I was just like, what the fuck? But
Uh,
yeah, no. I mean that part of like detachment is something I don't see a lot of people doing. But like I said, if a woman is hot, she doesn't even need to know how to spell detachment.
true story.
Like if she even needs to, she'll probably enter that into a Word document for or if
Or
she's a even
phone.
if she's a journalist, yeah, even if she's like a person that is an editor for something, she doesn't even need to know how to spell
No, she doesn't.
or do
That's the sad part.
or do grammatical checks or anything. It's like everybody has a title without needing the expertise, and people who don't wear titles, they become ostracized because if the people can't put you in a box, they're not going to want to hear what you have to say because the only way that they can think is inside the box. So if they hear a voice coming from outside the box, it's almost like it's either a religious experience or
Mm-hmm.
it's a or somehow they have to
It's a
like
hater.
rationalize. They'd be like, you don't exist. Yeah, exactly. Like they're like, dude, you just make me stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attracting the right things into my life right now, and so you don't get to bring that up because you're hurt. And it's just like it never ends. The shaming never ends.
Yeah, it never ends, and that's the sad part.
Yeah, yeah. if
I,
if
I'm,
if if we could, like, the thing is, like, too, if you could line up every college student and ask them like what exactly they want out of life, a lot of them will be honest with you and tell you that they don't know, like most of them would.
definitely.
But it's like when you hear college student, you think of somebody who's entitled, who looks forward to the Marxist utopia, and it's just like always practicing their white guilt and everything like that. You don't really think about just like the average person anymore, who's just like,
Yeah,
I just want to learn, I just want to party, and I want to learn some interesting shit about shit.
right. My favorite ones is I just want to get high and party.
Exactly. You like it's like just, why does it have to be about like changing the world? I mean, we act we have so much freedom of choice in this society, at least, that
Mhm.
if we were going to learn somewhere, it shouldn't be to create any. I mean, don't get me wrong. In other places, education is actually repressed, and people aren't allowed to learn certain things if they're of a specific caste.
Mhm.
And I'm not really
Or economic class
advocating.
too.
I'm not advocating for that at all in the slightest. But what I'm saying is, if in a place where you have such a huge freedom of choice,
Mhm.
education shouldn't be something that you basically choose in order to create a revolutionary thing. Like in America, we have way too much or not too much. I mean, we have enough revolutionary stuff happening as it is that the younger population should be concerned only with doing what benefits what's going to benefit them in the long run, not any like short-term political struggles and stuff. And in my estimation, my experience, that was never heeded. That warning was never heeded. Like
Oh, it definitely wasn't.
basically all the kids in my class were military, not military, were like radicalized, which is
Yeah.
sad.
And the sad part that goes with that is it's not even that though. They're running around saying shit like comrade and shit like that, or just saying stupid shit like that, because they believe that's the right thing to do. And these are the same goofy ass motherfuckers that do this shit. That are like they call everybody else toxic. They call everybody else saying that they're weak minded or one track minded or they're snowflakes when in fact they're more snowflakes than anybody else under the sun.
Well, they don't like in maybe 1% of all cases, a young person going through an institution will learn something that changes their perspective. But in the American schooling system, it's geared to do that. It's geared to follow that path of least resistance.
Yeah, it definitely
That
is.
that just whatever you feel, just say it, and then we'll put that into the lesson. And that's good because for a person who gets into the role, they have a chance to add a drop of nuance to it. They have the ability, given I mean, if they're a white male teacher, no one's gonna fucking listen to them, even if what they say is fucking spot on and true.
Hmm.
And that's just the way that it is. I mean, they're going to be a target of sexual misconduct, accusation, financial. Just there's no way that a white male teacher is going to get any kind of recognition for like the good stuff that they
They
do.
do, especially
And
especially if
yeah.
they're giving somebody a bad grade because they deserved a bad grade. Like the one teacher got fired because the one student claimed that he came made sexual advances at her, and that's the reason why he gave her a bad grade. Meanwhile, she was failing her damn course.
Hmm. Yeah, and so teachers are pretty much hemmed up from the very beginning for kindergarten and preschool not to critique the kids because that's the job of the parents, and they ignore the
And the
fact
sad
that
part,
a lot of
the
these
sad part, the
kids
parents
don't
don't even
even
do that shit.
have they're not even around, and
Hmm.
and then needless to say, the only people that get to actually add to the lesson, like I was saying, because it does get built upon, are the people that identify with the snowflakes and the
Yeah,
snowflake culture. So creates a snowball effect. Like
yeah,
there's literally there's no way to curb the warped thinking into like what we were talking earlier about how people are just like anything that they think of. You want to be a ninja. Hey, Black Lives Matter riot. You can steal shit and basically kill and murder innocent people.
yeah.
You go ahead, go right ahead. Yeah, like
Because you're
anything.
right, and
Like
you're a savior. It's like
yeah,
they have
yeah,
this Caesar Borgia victim savior complex, basically. Like they can't be wrong because they're a victim, and they're the ones that can save this place, basically. If you're a victim, you can't save shit. If you're a victim, you're a victim. You can't be a victim and a savior at the same damn time.
hmm. I mean, I don't. I think that I think if you're gonna study something, that's great. If that means you have to be a follower, and if you're going to tell somebody that they have to study something right after high school, then the pressure should be, I think, less because if they're not going to be considered a leader when they're 18, and I'm talking about doing anything a leader would be able to do, like create, like manage a group of people or
Mm-hmm.
manage a group of people emotionally, not even just telling them what to do, but just like exist amongst a group of people. It doesn't have to be work buddies. It could be friends, co-worker. Yeah, it could be coworkers, but it could be friends, family. If you're telling a person that they have to be able to lead and like they can't be dependent on somebody, then you put them in a situation where they have to study something and follow it and be a apprentice to it and like absorb as much as possible. I mean, I think that it's weird that we have celebrities nowadays who like have this sort of mindset where and a lot of the celebrities, if you look at them, they're not even really educated like that. Like they maybe have like 1 or 2 degrees, maybe, but they're
Hell,
not
they don't
people
even
who
got
have.
that anymore. They just
They
say
might
shit
not
because
even
they
have it.
believe some. Yeah, like they just half
Yeah.
them don't even graduate from high school or let alone middle school. Shit, half them been actors since they were kids and shit like that. Never even seen the inside of a school.
hmm
And like
And
we
so
expect
like,
them, and
so
everybody
we
expects
have an
them to come up
idea
with
of
some
what a
intelligent
leader
shit.
does. Like we like because and that's the thing about the sort of the whole intellectualism movement too, is that like a person that leads really doesn't need to learn everything that another learner or another follower needs to learn in order to do what that person is destined to do. Like they're a born leader, or they're a leader at what they do. They don't need to learn. Now, granted, when when they confront failure, that's a place where they can learn, but they're not necessarily a student. I
Yeah,
mean, in all cases, like you
no,
could
no.
mean, and that's the main distinction that I have is, I mean, with public school and or as a rule of thumb, promoting leadership is kind of frowned upon, and promoting individualism is kind of a frowned upon thing.
Hmm.
Only individualism, only shred of it that you'll get, it would be for at the end of the year when they do worst or most likely to be, a bimbo, or most likely most
Yeah,
likely to be successful, most likely to drive a nice car. It's kind of like,
going person most likely going places. Yeah.
exactly, best smile.
Hmm.
hmm Best smile.
Most friendliest.
They should really switch that and just be like, evil is the cunt. Like
Hmm.
they have her face in the yearbook in the back, so that like on the
Hmm.
news, like 14 people were killed today as a woman lost her mind in Walmart.
Uh-huh.
As officials say she choked a person out with a inner tube and took the fishing equipment and was terrorizing people before she was shot dead by a concealed carry wielder.
Right.
We all thank the concealed carry wielder. I mean, honestly, there's a good chance that we'll just, like, the only protection we have are the people that conceal and carry. After what I'm
Hmm.
hearing going on right now in the news.
Legit. Legit. Like, yeah, I often wonder about that. Like, if the person that's still carrying
And
is going to be
I
the person
actually
that stays
I,
on the.
I edit what I said earlier because that it didn't really come out right. I mean, like if you think about like cops, cops have to go into communities like blind, without, they don't know anybody, and they have to just like figure out where all the crime is. Like that person is like has to be a true natural born leader
Well, no, it's
in
not even
order
that.
to be able to do that shit.
It's not even that. And more or less the fact that like a lot of the officers don't know their neighborhood because they don't take the time to get to know the people in their neighborhood. That's why they go into neighborhoods blind, basically. Because like
hmm
if it's a fundamental difference between going into a black neighborhood and a white neighborhood. The cops are
Yeah,
more friendly. They pretty much know
but what I'm
everybody in
saying
the
is like
neighborhood and
what
shit
I'm
like
saying is
that.
like
In a black
if you
neighborhood, they
yeah yeah
don't.
yeah
They don't
true.
take the time to. They don't take the time to know anybody. They don't take the time to, you know,
Well,
interact or get to know the
well, you do
schools
have
or
pimps though. Like you don't, like, not in terms of the formal education system, but you do have people who lead the ghettos, or the ghetto. You do have people who lead the inner city, and if police officers enter into that environment, they're just as they're just as vulnerable as a John going into the same place, because they're like, there's somebody that knows the community better than them already, and to be
Mm.
able to interact with that kind of person, you have to have some sort of level of charisma, or some sort of red
Well,
pill
no, it's not
knowledge, or
even
some
that though.
sort of
This
whatever it is you would describe it as, in order to be able to
It's not even that, yeah.
effectively.
Because the fact of the matter
Mhm,
is, they don't interact with those people. Even if you have a community leader, if you have somebody that stands out that everybody follows,
mhm,
the cops don't even interact with that person. They tend to treat that person like shit too.
mhm.
So now
No,
they don't
true.
got no end. They don't got no end, and now they're abusing everybody and they're doing all the stupid shit that they're doing,
hmm
and you wonder why, basically.
hmm Well, I mean, like, I think the whole issue. That's why the whole issue of duty was something I paid a lot of attention to when I was learning something in school, because I was like, I mean, whatever it is I got to do, I already knew I was going to do it when I was like 3 years old or whatever. But the point of me going to this school is something. It's something that a lot of people do my age. So just be aware of, what it. Just be aware of, how I assess myself related to the people around me. And I never really thought about it as I was going to do something. I was going to do something that someone else was going to tell me. Like at the point where I was going to college, like I pretty much basically already knew that whatever I was going to do with the information I went to college with, it wasn't going to be. I didn't get it in those 4 years. I either picked it up after, or I got it before, but it wasn't going to be in that amount of time that I was
Well,
going to go learn something.
The sad part about that guy is it is true, because if you go to a white neighborhood, the cops are more involved. They interact with everybody in the neighborhood. They're all good with everybody in the upper class neighborhoods, and they don't tend to act a fool like they do in upper class neighborhoods. But you go to the inner city, the cops don't engage nobody unless it's to pull out a gun, or unless it's to choke somebody out, or unless it's to harass somebody for a DWB. Like they don't have any positive engagement with in inner city. Basically, they have like 1% to 0% positive engagement with the black community. It's just facts. But like this like a good example of that is the difference between Orange County and LA. I'm willing to bet any money all the cops know everybody, and they're probably waving everybody in the car, and there's less likely to be somebody's neck being sat on in Orange County than it is in LA. It's just facts. Or another good example of that is the difference between
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another good example is that the difference between a gated community and in an actual, like, let's just say Tampa. The difference between a deed restricted community and the inner city, for the most part. A deed restricted community, you're going to get more privileges not to be fucked with, basically. Whereas if you live in the inner city, you're just going to be fucked with.
Also,
it's just fact.
How many people would you consider? How many people would you think would want to be cops in either territory? I mean, you have a different pool of people to pick from, different backgrounds coming together in the inner city, whereas in the suburbs you might have something that fits more of a milieu of, these are the kind of people that have come in over the years. These are the kind of people we understand are pillars of the community, whereas at the inner city level, or at the inner city jurisdiction, it's more of like, how many people are coming from out of state that want to be cops, kind of like the out of state protesters.
The sad part
So
about that,
I think it's just a different thing. It ties differently they tie differently in the community depending on where they're coming from and what their parental background, like who raised them. Whoever raised them is going to determine like how they're going to approach policing.
True. And the sad part about that is a lot of these people, they don't even approach it that way. They basically just go off on a tangents and stuff like that, because there's also the cops that pretty much look the other way. And I've always said this about cops that look the other way. Let's just put it this way, it'd be no different if your partner commits a crime, or one of your fellow officers commits a crime, and somebody ends up negligently dead, basically. It'd be no different if I drove you and that guy to the fucking bank, and you two decide to rob the bank and shoot somebody. I'm getting arrested with you.
Reduce
I'm getting
it.
charged.
You can even reduce it to the very base, something that anyone can relate. I mean, think about a customer service job where you have to manage.
Well, no, it's not even that. No, it's not even that though. It's just the fact that it's literally if somebody kills somebody. If you like a good example of that, if I'm driving you somewhere and I'm your Uber driver, basically, or I'm your friend and I happen to be taking you somewhere, if you get out the car and shoot somebody, and you get back in my car and we drive off, I'm getting charged for that murder. You see what I'm saying? Or I'm getting charged for being an accessory to murder. It's just facts. So what I don't understand, if we held these cops to such high regard, they should get charged with the same damn thing, if not worse than what we would get charged with if we were to commit the crime, because they're supposed to be held to a high regard. Am I right or wrong?
Well, yeah, you're true, but it's just like the rules governing our due process is not this. It's still, they're not quite like.
No,
it don't. They're kind of because you have qualified you have like qualified immunity and things that kind of like make it so that the cops don't don't really get to uphold each other
Well, it's
as
not even that.
accountable 100%
It's
of the
not. It's
time.
not even that though, because at the end of the day, because qualified immunity only really applies when you're actually a government when you're actually a government aid, like the mayor, the governor, and people like that for the most part, or like somebody in the mayor's office for the most part, or the chief of police. It doesn't apply for actual officers, sadly. So that immunity thing flies out the window when it comes to actual officers. Now, if the chief is willing to shoulder the burden, then it pretty much comes back in the window. Um, but the sad part about that is, at the end of the day, cops are held to a higher standard. If I was on a job and I was to actually kill somebody, there would be an internal affairs investigation. If I actually kill somebody that didn't have a gun, if I thought they had a gun, there'd be an internal affairs investigation. And if they found that I actually used excessive force or did something I had no business doing or was unnecessary,
Hmm.
I'm going to be arrested, or I'm going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to be found guilty of shit, and I'm probably going to serve more time because I'm a public civilian. Basically, it'd be no different if if Lazo got into a fist fight
Yeah.
and broke somebody's nose, or if somebody, a kid that was a black belt, got into a fist fight and broke somebody's nose, the kid that's a black belt gets held to a higher regards because his hands and feet are registered weapons. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the chief is like the only scenario he would use that would be if homies literally broke into his wherever he was at and threatened his life. He'd have to like defend himself. He would have to like
Yeah.
defend himself. Or if he's going to like this Commissioner Gordon fucking in Arkham, just like busting caps in people.
Mm-hmm. And the sad part about that is, like, cops just do that on a regular basis. It's like,
Well,
and I always
cops
laugh
do that
about,
all the time too. That's the real thing. That's the real problem
and
is
that's the sad
that
part. Like,
it's
you,
not
and
it's
it's
not
like,
really held because we hold the law to a certain standard, but then the people that actually enforce the law are not treated the same, like
yeah,
with the
no,
same level of gravity. It's
yeah,
like
like, but
they're all cops.
before,
Now it's all cops together as
yeah,
a whole are
because the
able
sad part
to,
about that is, like, I don't care if you're a good cop. If you look the other way when your coworker is doing some wrong shit, you deserve every single thing that you get. If you were there, like, you deserve all the charges you get if you look the other way. That's my thing on that one. However, if you actually, like, a good example is the one Seattle officer when the one guy actually had his knee on his neck. His partner literally seen it, noticed it, and pushed his knee off the guy's neck. Like, think about that. Think about that. That white kid could have been dead. That white kid literally could have been dead. Like, he could have been another uh George George Floyd, basically.
hmm
He could have
Hey,
that
you're
white kid
fine.
could have
You're
literally.
fine. I heard somebody say Floyd Mayweather at a protest, so you're fine.
Oh,
I
good
think that
lord!
at least you
Wow,
know who the person is.
really? Wow! Somebody said Floyd Mayweather.
They said you will kneel for Floyd. What happened to Floyd Mayweather?
Oh God, I believe it. That's how stupid people are and disconnected. And that's the society that we're raising right now. We're raising a bunch
Hmm.
of dumbass motherfuckers that don't even know who actually died. They take one name and they run it with another name, basically, because it sounds popular, and that's the
Think
last
about
name
it.
that they can
We
remember.
live in a day and age where DUIs still exist.
Yeah,
Like DUI is still a thing in the
yeah,
world of Uber, Lyft, taxi service,
yeah.
phone order, simps. Your
White knights
male,
that'll come
your
out and come
orbiters, a
get your
white
ass.
knight. I'll white knight for somebody just so they're not get a DUI. Hell. You still have people who are prideful enough to get in the car because they want to look good driving their Mercedes home after going to the pub,
Or the Range
you know,
Rover.
or the Range Rover, or the car, the Cayenne Turbo, the
Mm-hmm.
grandpa car. That's the society we live in, and that's just something that we have to accept and move forward with, because those people are never going to change. They weren't going to change for Uber. They're not going to change for you. They
Yeah,
still
that's
have their
right.
habits. And I think what's sad is that Like anytime there's a crisis, people use it as an opportunity to just shame people that don't ever want to see them or hear their voice ever. Stay in that part of town,
Yeah.
leave us the fuck alone. And I don't think that means that you're afraid of change. I think if you think like the way I do, I think it's more like uh I think like the best way to change is to go somewhere where that growth that you have is supported by everyone around you, and it's not just something that is basically built on you being tolerated by wherever it is that you're at.
True story. And the sad part about that is like I've always talked about this, and I talk about this in many videos when I say it's only like if you look the other way on one group of people, it's only a matter of time before it starts happening to another group of people, then your group of people, then your group of people. So at the end of the day, you can't ignore shit that's going on and then
Yeah.
expect it not to happen to people in your
Whereas,
neighborhood.
whereas like that's the way that people view things. But the cops see somebody swerve in a lane, they're going to think they're not going to like take into account. Oh, he's probably black, so he probably thinks that I would be like that's the way that the cops are. They go based off of their observations because they have to be perceptive about stuff. If you know what I
Yeah,
mean, does like that's the kind of way people view it. But then they don't expect prejudice when it's not been when it's to protect and uphold like the law or something as the way that the way that it's instruct police are instructed to do. It's like, oh no, now that person's discriminating. It's
yeah,
like, well, they're not necessarily discriminating. I mean, when they get to a certain how they feel after the fact probably determines whether or not they were discriminating. Because if they accidentally killed somebody, it's like, oh
that
yeah,
can
I
kill
do feel
somebody.
bad. Yeah, I
And then if
definitely
they're
feel
actually,
bad.
or and if you kill somebody and then say fucking nigger, then obviously you're discriminating. It's just
Hmm.
facts.
But then like if you because that's the thing, like 5 6 foot guys running at you, pinning you to a car and getting you onto the ground. I've experienced similar things, not from being arrested, but if when people pile on you, not and I know they're trained and stuff, and like, but just that many people coming down on top of you, I'm surprised that about the guy who was next to the guy holding the knee on the neck saw and intervened, and that he actually pushed that person off, and that cop didn't get offended by it and actually continued on with this process,
Yeah,
because it shows that in general not a lot of them are in it for the power. They're just in it to do something,
to make a
to
change.
make an impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
to make a
actually make
change.
it
Yeah,
to make an yeah, to make a change. And like, that's if they're told they need to neutralize a person, it's like it's something where if you see somebody do that, it's good for them that they saved that they pushed that knee off. And it's a shame that yeah, they'll probably, like, I don't know if that's a main news story or what it is, but that's something that's a good thing that goes without saying that should happen. And I
yeah, definitely, definitely. And the
mm,
sad part about that is when people actually do that, and it's more or less the fact that because like I always looked at it like this: if you have to put your knee on somebody's neck, they better be a very, very bad, threatening
oh,
criminal.
do you
Because
remember where that story was from, where the guy pushed the guy off?
I think it was Seattle. I believe it was
So,
Seattle.
there was
I
a
believe it
lot
was.
of good stuff happening. Like, a lot, like, people were snatching guns out of protesters'
Their hands.
riders'
Oh yeah,
hands.
definitely. Black
In
people were
Seattle is where
black
it's
people were
at.
calling out white people for spray painting Black Lives Matters on fucking
Yeah,
buildings
man.
and shit.
Kendall's
Like,
right, man. That's like, rioting is just like something normal to them. Like, we're not rioting, but protesting is like, it's like a law of the land there. And it's just funny because it's like there's so much experienced
well, not even out of
protesters.
that wasn't even in Seattle. That was like other places that they were doing this shit where they were calling out white people for spray painting
Uh,
Black Lives Matter on the side of fucking buildings
it's
like
like,
they ain't got no fucking
why?
sense.
Stop. Stop it.
They gonna
Get some
blame us
help.
for this bullshit. We're doing it for
Right.
you, comrade. No, bitch, you about to get punched in the fucking face and wrecked comrade.
Well, it's like that's something too. People use people use other people's you know, and Double I will probably just ape shit on this topic. But the way that people they use people's names to like drum up controversy and drum up chaos. Like Joe Biden said I could do this, for example.
Yeah.
Like I could vote for you know, some a vice president who's running against a president who's actually been a president before. It's like, oh, but he's a vice president. He was a good vice president. I'm like,
What
yeah,
did he actually
yeah,
do though?
yeah. I'm just like, wait. Let
Vice
me get this
president's
straight.
just basically the backup bitch.
You're
Basically,
telling me, yeah, you're telling me that you're gonna put Joe Biden in the seat of somebody who's been running the shit for 4 years to a person who basically sat as back seat bitch to Obama for 8 years.
he was a fucking bench warmer.
It's just like if we're talking sports, like that was just a
Like
hardcore
that
foul.
motherfucker was a bench warmer. He didn't even get in the game. At least Cheney got in the game. Like, come on now, Cheney at least got in the game.
Yeah, Cheney did some cool stuff. Like, and the thing is, like, anytime the vice and like, what is the vice usually used for? Like,
He's basically just
publicly.
backup. Like he
Well,
could
no,
be
I
he
mean
could be
like the
he could be a
because the I
working
know the
person,
vice
or he can be
doesn't
like
do.
he could be basically a behind the scenes person. So like he could be a working person, or he could be a bench rider. Basically, it depends on his relationship with the president. And Biden was a bench rider. Basically,
Yeah,
no
he
more
I
than a
mean,
bench
it's like
warmer.
Obama was like, yeah, all
Cheney,
right. Oh, well, you guys know that meme that they're like not the meme, but the GIF when he's at like a high school and he just dappsing everybody up, and then he gets to the white people and he just shakes their hand.
yeah, I know, right?
That was
And
basically Biden. That was
yeah,
basically
basically.
Biden.
And the sad part about that is it's funny how we can actually do shit like that or say shit like that, and that be an actual thing. Because like, really, dude, you're going to put the bench warmer in the bench warmer who didn't do shit the one entire time. Hell, the Secretary of State did more shit than Joe Biden did. I'm just saying, like, the
It's
Chief of
like
Staff did more shit than Biden did. Like,
what would Biden's first act be in office? Is just to like just sit around and then not do it. Like that. The only thing that would be precedent is if he were to sit around and not do anything.
yeah, and the sad part about that is there's a chance that he will sit around and not do anything. There's a high chance that he won't. I mean, and the sad part about that is his job is basically to beat Trump. That's all it really is by any means necessary. And if you notice, he's using the same playbook that Trump did to win. Basically, he's trying to use the same damn playbook.
Well, he's definitely not going to get black conservatives to vote for him.
No, definitely not. And then his one comment: "You're not black if you don't vote for me." Bitch, who's you?
Yeah, I mean he's against the cops, right? Or he's with Black Lives Matter, right? I don't
Well,
know.
the sad part about Black Lives Matter is my problem with Black Lives Matter is Black lives only matter when it's a white person doing it to a black person. When two black people do it all the fucking time,
Mm-hmm.
like there's probably 5 black people killed every hour,
Well,
and it doesn't matter then.
let's use some of that information from that article, that Georgetown Public Review article that we use. Like, so let's just take a look at how Black Lives Matter as a movement would actually view black men, because you know we obviously know how they feel about them from the realm of a protester. A black man's face is good for promoting a political agenda and really nothing else, because they can't be fucked to learn anything about the man or what he was or what he even stood for. Then you get into the realm of what some protester does as a side hustle, an occupation, and what do we have as being the demographic of that? Primarily, it would be like, what do black women? What are their typical jobs? Civil servant, public servant, nurse, nursing assistant, free, and then all the other small town, the hospitality and customer service, and all these, the way that they view black men, they like discriminate against them. Like if a person doesn't have paperwork, then we don't like we're not going to trust you. We're not giving anybody any privileges. I'm just doing my job. I'm like the way that they view black men is just like so demeaning and so degrading. But
Hmm.
yet they're gonna go out on the street when someone gets killed and they're saying like, yeah, I ride for this nigga, I ride for him. Yep. He's like, but
Yeah, no.
meanwhile that yeah, and meanwhile like they even have prominent figures in their community bringing up the fact that they think that he's a bad person. It's controlled misinformation. It's just a
Oh,
tactic.
definitely, always.
They're just saying, okay, believe what you want to believe, but don't believe anything that isn't on screen because you got to believe one of these, and then you got to argue with whoever that disagrees with you. Yeah, keep going, do it. It's like how much
Yeah,
can we fuck shit up more?
that's the sad part. Like they do a lot of stupid shit just to do a lot of stupid shit, and the sad part about that is like at the end of the day, Black Lives Matters don't give a damn about black people, black on black violence. And the white people who protest, always protest, don't really give a damn about the people who actually died. They only care about chasing clout or getting Instagram famous and shit like
Mm,
that for the most part. That's all the
I
fuck they
see.
care about. They don't give a damn about. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a small majority of white people who actually do care and are out there because it always shows. Because if 80 to 90% of the people who are protesting peacefully are non-blacks, and only what like 10% or 15% of the people who are protesting are black, what's that say about your actual community and how much they actually care about black people? Like, think about that shit. 90 something percent of the people out protesting are non-black. Like, think about that shit.
Right,
How much
and
do you actually care
it's
about
a
your own
cult.
fucking
It's a cult.
community?
It's even more of a cult because they control the information that you look at. They don't want you bringing up Mexican or his sorry, not Mexican. I'm not sorry, not Mexican. Hispanic on black crime. They don't want you bringing up black on
Black on
black
black
crime.
crime, yeah.
They don't want you to talk with people who bring up Hispanic on black, black on black, black on white. They isolate the people that you associate with in order to get you to think that not only that the black community is weak, but also that the black community is they're the weakest and the most picked on in the whole entire world as far as the world is concerned to these first world privileged snobs. They're snobs. They believe that if a black person is treated poorly in America, that is the worst possible thing in humanity. That's like an atrocity akin to gassing people in someone whatever fuck whatever country. But they don't even once consider the fact that like as a sovereign person operating in his like utmost capacity, you don't have to stay in a place where no one likes you. You don't have to exist in a realm where you either have to be a basketball player or a rapper or or basically rob and kill shit or be a homosexual in order to
Mm-hmm.
find your happiness in life. But the thing is, you'll never run into a person like that because the way that they filter feed off the mainstream media, anybody else who is there is just wrong speak, wrong think. Anybody else who doesn't follow that is just they're excommunicated or they've moved into the garage or the basement or whatever place where people don't really normally gather or congregate.
True story. And that's sad. That's sad within itself. That is very
Mm-hmm.
sad within itself. And I think the problem that I have with that is like we always scream how Black Lives Matter when in fact they really don't matter. How does Black Lives matter when black women are about like 50% or more of the abortion rates in the United States? How does Black Lives matter when five to 10 times more black people die at the hands of other black people than they do from any other minority put together? I think on average, what black people kill black people at the rate of like 5,000 a month or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Lives Matter, and
Yeah.
you wonder why our numbers are shrinking. Like think about that. You wonder why our numbers are shrinking and keep going down, is like there's not going to be like if there's going to be any minorities, there's going to be like we're going to be the lowest common minority. Hell, Asians are going to surpass us.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like
Latinos
I
already
don't
surpassed us.
when the place that I just see that is like really the future would be, I would say, like young black intellectuals, young black creative people, what they are able to like manifest with the new territory that we live, new landscape, and the technology that we're working with. Because honestly, like the previous generations, they've had a lot that's like kept them into the system, and then they weren't able to get out of it, or they weren't able to like get out of it. I forgot what I was gonna say. Um, yeah, no, but like it's it's definitely one thing when you have people saying something about a young person, right? But like in reality, a lot of this, the criminal activity or what I would consider bad, that stuff just gets worse the older you get.
Yeah, it definitely
And
does.
and the people who I think are really at fault that don't want to take responsibility would be the people who I would say in like the Black Lives Matter community, that they have like they're like serial abortionists, and it's almost like once they start they can't stop. It's kind of like us, it's kind of like the traits of, I would say, Russell Williams, like from um those like the sexually motivated crimes. Like just look into sexually motivated crimes, and if you do, you'll see what I'm talking about with like the way that certain women act towards sex and like what it motivates them to do. It's not even the sex that they want. It's more just like the their like desire to be wanted,
Want it,
and
yeah,
like yeah, and it's
or
like
accept it,
if
basically.
that is just such a deep thing. Like the moment a woman realizes that she could be as young as like 8 or 9 years old, she's gonna, that doesn't go away. Like unless she's convinced unless she's convinced that there's a different way to act where you can be good, that's going to carry on to later in life. Like it's only going to get worse from there. And like the po- the moment she starts doing all of this,
Facts, Americas. Facts.
like this weird shit with the doctors and the government and uh the the guy, or the, you know, the gynocentric system, and then starts to play games with, you know, the the guy, or the what is the one that called, like the doctor that's called that deals with her pregnancy and her,
OBGYN.
yeah, like the OBGYNs, like all the stuff that she does with them behind closed doors and stuff. Like it just it makes me kind of like wonder why we're so fearful of like letting go of this like old outdated system, and we're still trying to do traditionalism when there's so many of these loopholes that women can just get through in order to live out what they want, like their vision, and like get their vision into reality, and like really foist whatever it is they think should happen onto man, as a just as a useless human, be a human doing. And that's the reason why that's the reason why I make MGTOW content, is because like this is one thing you can always do that really will not involve a woman ever. Like this kind of stuff you
Mm-hmm.
you can't really package for female ears, which is why you have to wait an hour into a live stream to say anything that's valuable, that's like
Yeah.
that's worth anything.
Facts.
Like it to be, it's just attention. It's an attention thing that I had to learn too. I had to learn to pay attention, because like for some reason the way that you get gaslit when you're going through uh elementary school and middle school, people make you think that you can't like pay attention to anything when they have to draw your attention away from something in order to get you to listen to them. It's like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
how are you saying that I don't have attention when you can't focus on the lesson because I'm not focusing on you? it's like, what does the ADHD even mean? ADHD sounds like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Sounds like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you want to make it my fault that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I know that Max Sauce is gonna get mad at me because I don't respect teachers. But I honestly believe that. Like, what the fuck is the point of ADHD? And I'm talking to a person
Well,
who knows
well,
who studies the medical field, so
I know. I was about
I
to
should
say.
get.
The sad part about ADHD is mainly the people who get diagnosed with ADHD are the people who tend to like get bored with their work very easily because they finish it very easily, and the teacher just want them to sit still and be stupid like the rest of the children for the most part. Like any boy, most boys, if they're very intelligent, get labeled as ADHD because you finished all your work and you not now you're trying to like a good example of that is I know children who have finished their work and will go help other children in the class and they'll say, well, obviously he has ADHD because he can't sit still. What?
This is so
Obviously, as AD,
stupid.
obviously he
That
can't
is
sit
so
still because the
dumb.
work that you're giving him ain't shit. How about them apples? And that's literally what it is. The work that you're giving them ain't shit.
I have no respect for teachers. It's not because they are bad teachers. It's because they let the phenomena of social engineering work their way into something that should be just pure, just bat away all the BS, which is, their curriculum. Like, what are we learning today? Like the Magic School Bus, it's like you come through and you take your kids into another fucking dimension. But my classroom experience when I was in sixth grade was like watching my teacher cry because somebody flew some planes into a goddamn building in New York and being like, ah, shit, I gotta go home now. And then from then on, it's just, and before that, it's just like it's the worst freaking experience on the planet. Like it just it's it's shitty. And I know you guys probably hated school in the 80s with your Letterman jackets and like taking Susie to Lookout Point and the makeouts and everything, but I'm telling you right now, it was bad. Like, it was just bad. I know that you had
I
a
don't know what you're talking about, yeah.
Coca-Cola and everything, and I know that you guys had, were driving the little red Corvette and like on the ridgeway, and the sun was setting and everything. That looked great over the Pacific coast, and it was just so bad for you.
Mhm.
But that's the way that Hollywood paints the '80s, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and all that. And on that note, like the the whole movie thing too. I was big into movies when I was in college. Like, I was big into studying them. And it's funny, when I would be in like colloquia with kids who were above or who were below me, because I was pretty much an underclassman by the time I got into film, and they'd be like, "Oh, Ferris Bueller was creepy. Like, I didn't like the movie because he's the way that he flirted with that girl." Or they would be like, to a completely sincere like modern day director like Wes Anderson. Like, they would be like, "Oh, the main actor he was just so troubled, and I didn't like it because he just seemed so like hurt, or basically like he just seemed emotionally unavailable." And I'm like, so you're gonna judge a movie based on the fact that a character in it you didn't like?
Yeah, they sure enough will. They sure enough will.
Like, what is the society that we live in? And then, because I focused on the movie and I didn't get caught up with the character, I'm the person who didn't get the message of the movie. Like, I didn't get your message. That means I didn't get the entire message of the movie. Whereas I pay attention to the message of the movie, and you can't be fucked to understand it. You
Got
just
caught up in a character and shit like
don't
that.
have the attention span. And so I'm the one with
That's
attention
basically
deficit.
ADHD in a nutshell,
I
basically.
know, and it's like I'm the
Like
one
you
with the
can't pay
deficit.
attention. Like the sad part about that is if you can make a movie in Hollywood and it
Mhm.
flops and you can't figure out why it flopped and the story sucks, you have ADHD, my friend. It's just facts. If you can't
That's
make an
true.
actual movie that did good when it first came out and remake it so it can actually do good again, and you don't have a story behind it and you're just pushing a certain agenda and it flops, you have ADHD, my friend.
It's projecting.
Ghostbusters,
It's
Charlie's
all
Angels.
like that whole entire thing is just projecting. Like what MGTOW the Wind mentioned about hypochondriacs is so true because like they're more likely hypochondriacs I think are just as likely to diagnose themselves with a disease as they are to, judge somebody on say CNN, for example, that they see in the news. Like
Mhm.
they think the same way about everything. It's always to the most extreme value that they can create. And if you give a person an inch, I think to quote like Thinking Ape, they don't take just miles or whatever, they take leagues. They take leagues and leagues and leagues to the point where like as a man in the manosphere, you're pretty much on like your little square, like saying, "Don't come onto my square," and they're just like, "Nah, we're gonna have that too."
Yeah, literally.
Like we're gonna use your content to paint a narrative of about how men are just so hurt and they're all wishy-washy. Men are the real ones that are wishy-washy, and they all have ADHD.
Yeah. And that's the sad part about that. Most
Yeah,
men get diagnosed with ADHD because they get very little work in school, so they got to be ADHD because they finish it faster and they want to help everybody else. So now they're ADHD. That's typically how most men get labeled as ADHD in schools. That's just fact. But the sad part about there are a small percentage of men who are ADHD who conveniently slip through the cracks. And my thoughts on ADHD is it's bogus as hell. Basically, it's a nice way to control a group. It's a nice way to pussify, pacify, and control a group of people for the most part.
yeah, that's the hypocrisy too. I mean, wait, shout out Americas, man. You're freaking we're on Kendall's stream, and now you're on this stream. You're just a marathon live stream chat runner. Word up,
Literally.
respect. But the thing that's really sad is just like the level of entitlement about what you were saying. What were you saying again? You said a bit about the. What were you saying again? It was about. Sorry, I was listening.
ADHD
That
and
was.
stuff like that. ADHD. I was saying it's funny how like the men who finish their work and try to help other people get labeled as ADHD. The people who are actually
Mhm. Oh no,
ADHD.
no, yeah, it was about being driven in the academia. Like the whole entire being driven in academia thing is new to academia as a whole. And like what MGTOW was saying, if you study something, it doesn't have that much of an impact because not a lot of people know about it. That's what makes it choice information.
Mm-hmm.
But then when like as a woman you go to college to be an entrepreneur, get the fuck out of here. Like what? Where do you learn to be an entrepreneur if not from your family history and your heritage and stuff? Like you can't learn to monetize your assets as your own individual from an institution out there in the world. Like that's not what's going to tell you what to do. I mean, sure you can learn facts about the economy and history about the history of well, you really can't learn history of anything in the
Yeah.
institution. It's pretty much everything is just like service level. Pick this class, the color marketing, the postmodern philosophy. Take 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Bio 112. Like it's
Yeah.
everything is just clickbait culture and thumbnail culture where it's like, oh, what are you studying? What are your 4 classes? It's more like not as much of a thing that the college cares about, more just like how to judge people on dating sites
Yeah.
and online profiles. It's like this is what I'm studying. Look at me. I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me. Wait down the
Yeah.
wind.
This makes sense. Yeah.
My question.
Yeah. But to answer your question, that guy. The reason, like I said, basically, it's funny how, like you said, it's funny how the men who actually do fall in the ADHD category actually aren't diagnosed with ADHD. But my thoughts on ADHD, me being me, is it's a nice way to pussify, pacify, and control a group of men for the most part that don't conform to what they want them to conform to or capitulate to societal standards for the most part. So they got to be ADHD, and they got to be pretty much shunned and shoved under the desk for the most part, so they can't really make noise or call hypocrisy on the bullshit that they're going through for the most part.
And I'm gonna say this right now, like the teachers are they're bad people, but they're sometimes good at what they do. Like sometimes they're good at you know coddling a kid. Like I'm not to say that's what a teacher should do. The teacher can also tell like improve, help a kid improve, but like sometimes the teachers are the ones that tell on themselves the most with all of this like crazy attitudes that we have, and they not only that they teach it to your kids, so they're basically like saying like fuck you, fuck your household, fuck the boat you came here on, fuck your family, fuck your heritage. We're learning about trans rights in this bitch pimp, and I don't
Yeah,
care.
literally.
Like they're the real. I mean, and like they are. And you can see by their behaviors, which you don't need to get into. But I mean, like honestly, they're all prostitutes and they're all hoes. Like they literally are prostitutes for government jobs.
Apparently, he changed. Teachers aren't shit. He said, "I've changed, Jam. Teachers aren't shit."
Yeah, well, it's like when I was talking to you, you know, like go back when you go back to watch live streams. I'm like literally just like, dude, I get what you're saying, but nah. Like I was just like, no, dude, I get a person that wants to teach you. You should respect what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
Like not
And the
not
sad
these
part about that is
people,
that not a lot of
not
people,
these people.
not a lot of people actually have respect for people who teach them anymore. And that's the sad part. Nobody has respect for actual teachers
God, Lord.
anymore.
Well, it's not even that. Like they have respect for what they do, but what they do has been shaped by wherever it is that they came from, and not in a good way. Like you talk about my dad was a blacksmith and his dad was a blacksmith. Like there are people who are being teachers, especially if you actually look at where their heritage comes from. Like in my situation, you had a lot of people from like Scandinavian origin or whatever. They aren't. They're farmers.
Yeah.
They're outdoor work and agriculture focused,
Yeah.
and they're very. If you read the diaries of the
Corey's still in the house.
Schweiz, the Schweitzers and the Corey Steele and Artyom. What's up, Artyom? But
Artyom's in the
anyway,
house.
what's up, Artyom? What's up, Americus and Deville?
Americus and that guy. And Corey Steele's in the house. Um,
If you listen to their journal entries or just read about when those people came to America, it's very deadpan. It's very like Olga had a good push on the ox today, made lots of food. Like that's like
that's
their
pretty much their journal.
heritage.
That's pretty
Yeah, that's
much
what
their
they go to.
journal.
Like sun was hot today. Like and like I think it's weird that they chose to be teachers out of everyone. It's like when the girls I was going to school with too. It's like those girls chose to be teachers, and it's almost like they propped themselves up with the. I mean, in my case, if you think about nurse, psychiatrist, history teacher, the humanities, not history teacher, sorry, historian, librarian, the humanities, author, journalist, and then for some reason it goes like campaigner, customer service, prostitute. Like it just goes down so
Yeah.
fast in terms of
Yeah,
like what
it
women are.
definitely does. You notice
In
that
terms
too?
of what
Yeah.
women like qualify for at that age. And it's just like it's just so strange to me that's the thing that they chose, because I would have chose something completely different for them, and a lot of them would probably be on their knees sucking some dude off
Yeah.
for money. I mean, to be
Half the
honest, like
actresses in Hollywood, most of the, like 90% of the actresses in Hollywood,
that's what they're the best. That's what they did the best. They didn't do
that's how they got
really
their
any.
role.
That's how they got their role.
That's how they got their role, because
Yeah,
they can't act.
they
Like, I'm
can't
getting tired of
act.
seeing. I'm getting tired of seeing bitches that can't act in
And it's
movies.
funny too, because I'll actually share this because it's like I heard a story from like a bitch, right? So I would like go and check her out to see what she was doing, because I was like I was kind of worried about her because she was really attached to me from the very beginning of like when I was a freshman in college. So I just went to go check on her, right, and like see how she was doing and make sure she wasn't already like getting just ran through. And one of the guys that she talks to is like on the basketball team, some tall ass dude. Uh,
He was black, wasn't he?
well, yeah, he was black, but we'll say his name was like Isaac. Uh, and he
He's a townhouse nigga.
yeah, he was out there. I mean, dude, when you're going through it in college too, you just like if you're not one of them, you know that they're out there. Like people are out there. Like niggas is out here doing stuff. So I was like, how was with your thing with so and so? She was like, oh, it was great. And then like we kind of like made out, and then he said, sorry if I'm poking you. And I was like, what? What did you say? What? I stopped kissing him, and he was like, sorry I'm poking you down there. And I was like, that nigga said what? Like I was like, oh, he said that? What did he mean by that? And she was like, oh yeah, I mean, like obviously he was talking about, his thing down there, and like I ended right away because I just felt, so uncomfortable. And I was just like, we are so dishonest. We are so dishonest. Like my whole entire generation, we're just so. And the thing is, like the women in my age group, they're just like eons smarter than the men because they've just been I mean, they've been doing this shit since when I was just like fucking playing handball and getting clotheslined by some sixth graders and like climbing the highest tree and the highest tower and the darkest night and everything. Like I had this one friend of mine, like best friend of mine. He moved out of town and then we fought. That's when we decided to scrap. Was like the day he was leaving, and like on the blacktop and shit. And it's like while we were doing all of our petty squabbles as just like young peasant American boys, these these female women were like living the Princess Bride lifestyle. Like sneaking, talking, gossiping, whispering, and shit. And I feel, to be honest, I feel like most girls have started swearing since before any boy ever decided to say like fuck, like in his like on a sleepover with like a bunch of his friends and shit, because like women are just fucking cunning beasts.
Yeah, and the sad part about that is like it's
They're
not the
cunning
fact that they're
creatures.
smart; it's the fact that these are the tricks of the trade that they learn. It comes with their
And if you don't know them,
biology. Yeah, it comes with
it's
their
like, yeah, you're
biology.
fucked. Yeah,
Yeah, it comes with their
yeah, exactly.
biology. So it's not like the fact that they're just like these smart, intelligent creatures. It's the fact that that's what the tactics that they use to get ahead in life for the most part. They're taught to manipulate. They're taught to, they're taught to, pull on heartstrings, play on emotions and shit like that. Because if you ever notice, if a woman's taking an L or a woman's not getting their way, what's the first thing she goes to? Crying.
Just
Crying.
bawling. Yes.
She'll start crying. And then when she starts crying, then everybody's going to come to her rescue because obviously you did something wrong to make her cry. That's when all the white knights come out. So women are socially smart, like I was saying in one video. It's just facts. They're socially smart when it comes down to it. They're socially smart and they know when to cash in their chips to actually get everybody to sympathize with them. They're smart at doing that. They know timing when it comes to that for the most part. It is what it is. So, and that's the sad part about that.
Well,
Men are
I feel like men, yeah, they don't learn to do that.
men are physically superior and they're more adaptable. They're more physically and adaptably superior for the most part. Women are socially superior and emotionally superior for the most part. They know when to use a large range of emotions to manipulate somebody into what they need to do, or they know when to socially do something to pull on somebody's emotions to do it. Men are emotionally strong in a sense that they're more stoic. Well, the men before this group of men that came up, because this group of men is just fucked. they're worthless and there's no point even having them.
Yeah.
They should also be killed
Well,
off.
well,
But
like the like some of the guys that some of the I've guys that I've known to be really intelligent either have had that sister in their like or like a sibling or a female relative, a close female relative
mhm,
that they've like learned all this stuff from. And it's like in those situations, like it's weird because like women will do things that they wouldn't normally do in front of like another man, like cry, like they'll cry in front of that man, which is like something I think is weird. It's like something that like a lot of people, a lot of men with like younger siblings, it tends to happen to,
mhm,
or not younger siblings but female siblings, it tends to happen to, which is something
mhm.
which is something I noticed like if a woman really wants you around, it's like she'll have you around, like, and it doesn't matter what she's doing. She's just like she's looking for some sort of approval from you, and so like she goes straight to if she can't get you to validate her, she'll go into the next thing that she knows how to do, which is like not always, but sometimes it's like relating with you or like trying to please you, because that's another thing that women will like know how to do really well from early ages, like make somebody else happy. Whereas like
Yeah.
kids, like boys are always breaking shit, fucking saying nan or nanner,
Oh
learning how
yeah,
to say a
definitely,
swear word and fucking learning how to say a swear word and pissing their parents off, getting into some
definitely.
shit. But then like the girls are always like viewed by parents as like, oh, she never does anything wrong, she's so great, I love her, she's great. And that
That's
right
sad.
there
Looking as well.
from early, we'll freaking we'll red pill the shit out of you, because you'll be like, well, there's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing I can do. This is the way that it is. And I either get with the program or get off, or just tune out entirely, like shit, or get off the pot.
Yeah, you literally have no choice at that point, and it's sad that it actually comes to that. But it's like you really don't have a choice, so you got no choice. So you might as well just shit basically and keep it moving. Sadly, and it's just
And
facts.
I
Like
and I say this too to benefit all the men out there listening too. Men value love and women love value.
yeah, women love things of value. Men value love. Men
Yeah,
value
yeah, yeah.
camaraderie and all this other great shit.
It's not that like women love like a valuable man. Like there's no way in hell that would ever happen. They would like the things, they would be impressed and pay attention to the things that man can provide, and they would
Oh
value
yeah,
those
definitely,
things. Like
definitely.
if I had a castle, like, oh, you value my castle, which is why you want to chill up in it.
Yeah,
But if I
literally.
wasn't there, it wouldn't matter. If I was replaced by another nigga, it would not matter.
Oh yeah, that
And
definitely
that's
doesn't
like from
matter.
Game of Thrones. Like it's like, oh, this castle belongs to so and so. Not anymore, bitch. And it's like
Right? Yeah, literally Game of Thrones style.
they're like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in this fucking castle. There's fucking wolves and shit out there. I'm not
Yeah,
going out that
literally.
fucking castle.
Women value things. Men value
Gentrification.
men
Living
value men
transportation.
value values for the most part, and women value things. It's all about what you can get for them, what things you can get for them for the most part, which is actually pretty sad. But to a lot of these women nowadays, for the most part, it is what it is. Prime ruler in the house. Yeah, apparently there are censoring things in the live chat. Sadly,
Well, one thing is when I go to watch the video, obviously you're probably still processing it, but I can't see the live chat until later,
well,
much
yeah,
later.
no, it's not me processing. It's YouTube processing it. They're basically trying to find some shit to
Man, they're
get me on.
filtering through
Basically,
all of America. They're like, okay, what did America Deville say this
say
time?
yeah,
He said
literally, yeah,
hashtag stay MGTOW, and then like
yeah,
what else did he say? He said
yeah,
OBGYN. Oh, he's a misogynist. Okay, what else? What else is he
yeah,
listing?
literally, yeah. Susan Wojcicki
Hollywood is
sitting
dead.
there at the
Oh,
computer
he's an
with
elitist.
coffee and
It's
shit
like,
like
oh,
that.
you're hurt. What else did he say? Oh, what is this Los de Great? What is he saying up in here? What? Same
Who's
shit,
this
different
Corey guy?
toilet.
Who's this Corey
Oh,
guy up in
he's
here?
racist against toilets.
Right,
What's this guy Artyom saying? What's the guy?
right.
Fucking thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. Oh, he's a grammar Nazi. He's probably the one. Probably
Right.
part of.
Yeah, that's pretty much Susan Wojcicki. Now that America's has put his favorite line to Susan. She'll find that and take that. She'll take that to
No.
heart, basically. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's just stuff like that that just cracks me up. It's like, hell, I want people to be as free as humanly possible in that comment section, but unfortunately, YouTube. And the sad part about that, YouTube just actually recently rolled out these rules and made it much worse than it used to be for the
Oh,
most
really?
part.
What did they do?
Did you read the new thing? They're basically censoring comment sections basically to basically protect people. And the reason why they're actually doing that is because a lot of bigger the bigger content creators who are sensitive snowflakes can't take the heat in their comment section. So now, because of them, all the big ones who have like their millions of subscribers and their 700,000 subscribers and their millions and millions of subscribers are complaining about their comment section. So YouTube basically capitulated all those people to make it work for the most part. So now they're going to censor the comment sections a little heavier because of these snowflakes at the top, basically.
Well, I like when people come into my comment section. If somebody comes on and comments like Baron, yeah, I'm like, fuck you, you fucking sweet potato faggot. I'll be like, whoa, like thanks, man. I appreciate you watching the video. Like
Right,
I'm really
literally.
glad. Whereas like someone says something that's just like not okay about like PewDiePie, and all of a sudden it's just like this freaking Armageddon. Well, somebody says something that's off color just a little bit, and then now, oh, we're rolling out new legislation, new policies. We're gonna everybody download the new patch. It's like, really? Come on. That person has 10 million people to influence, and they're gonna act like that,
Yeah,
or
they act
100
like a bunch of
million,
big
or
ass baby base. They act like a bunch of big ass babies when they do it. It's just, which is sad. Like how you this
it's
famous
so
influencer,
ridiculous, man.
but you let people influence your behavior and your emotions basically. Who's
Well, that's
influencing
what I'm
who?
about. That's like
Like,
the hypocrisy too. Like
like
somebody's
who's
like,
influencing who there?
I'm a social media influencer. It's like, but I go to college. I'm like, wait, why do you need education if you're an influencer?
Well,
Like,
no, it's
shouldn't
not
you
even
be?
that. Like you're a social media influencer, but as soon as somebody drops something in your comments, you're influenced by their comment now.
Yeah,
Their comment hurt your feelings enough for you to not for you to want to respond to stupid shit for the most part.
true. But I mean, you do have to label out the paradox there. That it's like, how do
Who's
you
influencing
have
who, basically?
who's influencing? Yeah, but like, what is the influence? Is it you're? I mean, you're people don't. People only want to attach themselves with something if it benefits them. They don't want to be attached. Otherwise, they're not representing them. They're not representing the group. I'm not going to
Oh yeah,
speak about all of them. Not all, not all, not all, but most. Not all, not all, but most. And I got in this conversation too with somebody who's like, "You're black, right? You're black, but you're black." I'm like, "I don't look black." So that's not what like a lot of people are gonna think about me.
yeah,
But it's like what it's like they want you to respond. They want you to respond to like the question just to, like get a little bit more emotion out of you, so that they can manipulate it. And it's weird. It's weird on YouTube because you don't have to watch the stuff on YouTube if you don't want to. That's what's the
yeah. You
crazy
got
thing.
options, but the sad part about that, you chose to actually click into the shit and be offended. Basically, what's that say about your character? If you chose to click in
So
and be offended.
retarded. So messed up. I mean, and I don't like. That's the thing is, you should be able to call that. There is a difference between calling out bullshit and just flat out getting triggered.
Yeah,
Because like you can call out bullshit like calmly and stuff, or you can call out bullshit and get kind of emotional because you're like, that's bullshit. But if you just like get offended about something, it doesn't matter if you do it like calmly or how you persuade somebody. It's like somebody's always going to tell that you got freaking offended, and then they're going to have that one person in the comment section being like, "Yeah, I'm not buying it," and then you're like, "Oh, why would you believe me? Hashtag believe me." It's kind of like it's kind of ridiculous because it's like, who are you doing this for in the first place? Are you doing it for yourself? Or are
yeah,
you
I know,
doing it
right?
to impress that one person?
Like legit. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we in? Why are we? Why? Just why, dude? Why?
But yeah, I mean, like that's just some stuff that I had to talk about today. And sorry to pick your brain about it, Tico. It's just
It's fine.
that kind of stuff. I think about that stuff a lot because I'm always on the go, always moving, and sometimes it's good to have just something to like occupy myself with from like a intellectual standpoint. Just some way that I can like detach and like think about something. I love that Janky. I love that video that you had about Janky, or just like the fact that you posted that on our wall, like where you like wish Janky happy birthday.
Yeah.
I posted a video too. And just I would like if you guys are listening, if you go to Baron Yam, I do a personation of Janky on his birthday, which is it wasn't that good, I admit, and I wasn't working with the best microphone software, but it was still real to me. Damn it,
Oh, and
it's
if y'all
still
haven't
real to me. Damn it.
and if y'all haven't subbed to our other channel, basically, Tren Labs News Network, definitely check out that channel. It's actually pretty good. We do like news articles and shit like that. So if you haven't been over there, definitely check that out. Most definitely, I meant to mention that.
hmm Shout out to Make Time to Win, who's here.
Yeah, shout
Who's
out to
here
McDonald, the
before.
ones who stopped in for a hot second.
Who would you guys like to hear, like in a nighttime stream like this? Like, where there's possibility where you could have like Jaguar, either here on another network around this time. It
Yeah,
is, um, it would be like it'd be like 5 p.m. his time, so it'd probably be like right when classes are getting out. I would hope.
yeah, probably.
So like maybe he could come in. There's a lot of different people you could probably get in, but I mean it is late across the U.S. right now, with the exception of it's like just hitting midnight over here in the Pacific time. So it would have to be somebody like maybe on the West Coast or maybe the
Somebody in the
Midwest
UK, well, the UK would be
or
like
UK
8 in the
too.
morning now. Yeah, depending on when they get up. The UK, then you have what's it called, like 18 hours. So that would be what, I mean, 16 hours. So that would be about like 8 plus 8 would be no, that'd be like 6. I don't know, dude. I can't do the time in my
Isn't it
head.
like
It's like,
9 a.m.?
yeah, something like that. Something like that. No, it's more than
Yeah.
9 a.m. It's like literally the next day.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's literally like the next day. So it's like one of those things where it's like,
Ah, they're like, I gotta get up for your shit. Yeah, the
yeah,
UK.
literally.
Like, if you want somebody from the UK too, I mean, just let us know. We can work our magic on Discord and get these people into the fucking live stream.
Yeah, literally.
Oh,
I ain't got no problem with dragging people in.
oh yeah,
No problem with dragging
no
people
issues
in.
at all. Hell, you dragged me in today.
No, you actually agreed to come in. Don't say I drug you in,
I drag you. I'm help,
motherfucker.
help,
Don't help.
help me, not hostage. My name is Baron Yam. My content is closely related to Tucker Carlson.
Right?
But
That's
actually,
right.
Tucker Carlson came up on a Janky Show video that I was
Yeah,
on
I know.
too. So
Tucker Carlson
he's
came
up
up on one.
there. Yeah. And for some reason, it's like every single video that I watch that's about MGTOW or the Red Pill always has freaking Bulldog video come up. Like it
Yeah, I've been
always is
noticing
the
that
same
too.
video. And I'm just like thinking not about him at all, but I'm just thinking like it's kind of like the person who's been posting in the comment section too. It's like what are all there's so many different like distractions, just like flat out distractions that are put right up, that are pushed. It's like I get it, distractions exist, but if you push them, like what's really going on?
Yeah, very true.
Makes you
That
wonder.
is, it definitely does make you wonder sometimes.
Well, I think we should, and I think we should. We should leave. That's a good note to leave on. I'm gonna probably take my leave here. You guys
Okay.
have a good night if you were all listening. If you weren't, well then hopefully you got a good kill streak in Call of Duty Mobile,
Yeah, me
and you were
definitely.
while listening to us. What? Who? Me? Myself? Barry M? What? Who said that? Who said kill streak? I got a nuke.
I don't really use the nukes too much. I do use the drones. I don't
I
use
would
the
rather
drones too
do a
much either.
helicopter.
I use the helicopter. I use the mech
Mhm.
suit, and I use the gun.
Yeah, I just use my knife. Only use my knife. Quick scoping and knifing. My trade
Well, no, because
tactics.
like I barely use the actual suit unless it's towards the end or unless I really need it, basically. But I mainly use the gun and the helicopter the helicopter strikes. Sitting there fucking people up and shit, just racking shit up. Got the gun going from one side, helicopter going from the other.
Same shit, different toilet.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, see you guys later. Where's Cinderella? She's out there somewhere. Of course, at Corey Steele.
Uh-huh.
Do the outro. Do the outro.
All right,
You want me
y'all.
to? You guys are all phonies. All right, y'all. You guys have a blessed day. Take the red pill. Be one with yourself. Do everything for yourself. And don't let anything slip by you. Stay aware. Stay MGTOW if you are MGTOW. Stay red pill if you are red pill. And stay, I mean, I'm not going to say, go ahead and say stay anything under the sun, but if it fits you, man, vibe with it. If it doesn't, then it shouldn't matter.
True story. Well, it was a pleasure doing this lovely live stream. I had fun. I had a blast like always. Y'all have a good one. Stay blessed. Bye, niggas. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, niggas.